Hey, what's up, guys? Pops here from Pop's Hobby Dungeon. I wanted to do maybe a chronicle of videos, follow-up videos, one after another, because I'm starting to get questions about my last Xtool Apparel Printer video. I'm getting questions asked about the maintenance, about the white ink. And so I wanted to clarify a few things. First of all, this is not my first white ink printer. I have a Muto UV white ink printer, and prior to that I had a Color Pro DTF, and prior to that I had a large format printer that also printed white ink. So I'm very familiar with the maintenance of white ink and its shortcomings or downfalls. And so I wanted to clarify a few questions that I had in the last video about Xtool's claiming, to be somewhat maintenance free. It has what's called a maintenance system guard. It's supposed to guard your machine for 24/7, but there's still some maintenance you got to do. So based on the questions that were asked in my previous video, I want to follow up with those. So let's start with the auto print head moisturizer. So the auto print head moisturizing, a lot of high-end machines routinely use moisturizing liquid injection, and that maintains the head moisture. And it reduces clogs and extending the standby time or the life of your head. And the reason that is because your head can dry up with white ink especially. So white ink, at least on my UV printer, white ink has titanium dust, and they include that fine titanium dust in the white ink to create the opaque white that you need. It's not a transparent white, it's an opaque white, meaning that it's going to be a bright, saturated white that without any bleed. I mean, light can still get through it, but it's very opaque. So the moisturizing portion of the Xtool Apparel Printer is basically keeping the head moist so that the ink, the white ink anyways, never dries on the head. Now, the colored inks don't have titanium dust or whatever particles they're using in the white ink to make it opaque. So there is no moisturizing going on, I believe, on the color prints. Just like my UV printer. I have a big Muto 661 UF UV printer, and only the white ink is the detrimental part of the process of the maintenance. The colors don't ever dry up. Only the white ink would potentially dry up or clog because it's the titanium dust or whatever particles Xtool is using in their DTF ink is thickening and settling to the bottom or the outlet of the head, or in the tank. It's setting at the bottom. So that's why they have this moisturizer liquid to keep the head wet so that the head never dries up. The second thing, which I kind of just touched base about, is the auto white ink circulation. So a lot of people are confused, and I'm on their website reading that it says to prevent ink sedimentation. See, so there is some kind of particles in their white ink, just like every white ink has, to make it opaque. Like I said, my UV printer has titanium dust. I am trying to find out what kind of particles that Xtool uses in their white DTF ink, and I can't find anything on the web, but I'm going to get to the bottom of that. But anyways, so the white ink circulation is just circulating the white ink from the tanks. You have actually three somewhat tanks. You have a pressurizing tank on the side of the machine. You have a reservoir tank on the print head or print cartridge itself, and then you have the actual reservoir where you pour the ink in. Now, the reservoir for where you pour the ink in has a stirring mechanism, and that keeps the ink agitated so that no sediment or particles can ever sit in the bottom. And then it also has some type of pump that keeps the ink, the white ink, circulating, but not to the head, only in the tank, the pressurizing tank, the reservoir tank on the ink head, and then the, I'm saying ink head, but it's not the ink head, that little square block that's underneath the print head cover, that's a reservoir as well, and that's feeding the 4 white primer little tanks that go down to the head. But I know I might be making it a little confusing. In the end, what I'm trying to say is this auto white ink circulation is not circulating the white ink through the head. It's only keeping the white ink moving throughout the system, not the print head, just the system, so that it doesn't get sediment stuck in the lines or stuck in the bottom of one of the tanks. So I hope I'm explaining that correctly. And then there's the auto print head cleaning. So they're saying that the Xtool Apparel Printer cleans the print heads by applying pressure within the sealed chamber, which is the docking station, to remove residual ink and impurities, effectively preventing clogging. So this is when you're done printing, the ink head moves to the docking station, and there's a rubber seal around the white ink head, and there's a rubber seal around the colored ink head. And there's also what's called a wiper, a rubber wiper that sits to the left of the white ink docking station is what I'm calling it. They're saying it's a sealed chamber, but it's really a purge and a docking station that is always, when the head's not moving, it's always docked. There's a rubber seal that makes connection to the bottom of the head and keeps it sealed. That's where the moisturizer goes in and keeps the head wet. And that's also preventing, that rubber seal is preventing, making a seal so the ink is not flowing out of the head when it's sitting for a day or two. And then the wiper cleans the head. So, all right, so then, so people were saying, well, I thought it was maintenance free. I thought all these 3 things that we just talked about, then you don't have to do any maintenance. You just leave the machine on 24/7, and when you're ready to print, you go print. Well, that's not really true, because none of these things are actually cleaning the print head. They're not extracting white ink from the head and purging the white ink, keeping the nozzles clean. So you have to do a cleaning. And if you leave the printer in standby, like they say to do, so the power is always on, and don't unplug it. And when you come down, like I come down to my dungeon to print something, I tap the screen and it automatically wants to do a print head cleaning. If it didn't, I would do one anyways. And sometimes I have to do 2 print head cleanings. And I'm going to show you here. This afternoon, I came downstairs to the dungeon and woke the printer up from its sleep mode, its standby mode, and it automatically did 1 print head cleaning. And you can see the colors don't have an issue. There's not one issue on the colors at all. But if you look at the white ink, you'll see some nozzles that are not firing. And that's from sitting for probably 36 hours, I think, the last time I came to the dungeon and turned it on. And you see there's a nozzle missing there, there's a nozzle missing there, there's a couple nozzles not firing there, and there's a nozzle not firing there. So this is waking the printer up and the printer telling me I have to do a head cleaning. Now, if I had went 2 or 3 or 4 days without waking the printer up, I'm sure that I would have got a lot more nozzles that weren't firing. So to clarify, this is not a maintenance-free printer. You have to do some cleaning. You have to clean off that wiper tower, that rubber wiper. You have to keep that clean. Every day that you fire this machine up, you should wipe that off. The rubber seal around the capping station, they're calling it a sealed chamber. It's called a capping station. You have to wipe that rubber seal because that ink will dry on the outside of that seal, and start causing problems, leakage and other problems. So you really want to make sure that you keep both those, the rubber seal on the capping station and the rubber wiper, clean and dirt and lint free. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is that if you do not run your printer for a week, even leaving it in standby mode, you're going to have nothing but problems. You're going to have to do some deep cleanings. You might have to do an ink extraction, which is going to waste a ton of white ink, and colored ink as well. So I just wanted to clarify a few of those things because I was getting questions in my last video about the Xtool Apparel Printer, saying that some people thought it was maintenance free, and it is not maintenance free. There is no white ink printer via, whether it's UV, DTF, or large format. White ink is very picky, and it has different properties that have to be carefully maintained, otherwise you will get a head clog. And once you do get a head clog, you can probably say goodbye to that head, and you're going to have to buy a new one. And the i1600 heads in this Xtool printer are like $4,000 or $4,500. I have an older Muto UV printer, and those ink heads, I think they were the X500s or something, I can't remember, and those are also $4,000 and $5,000. And I don't want to have to replace them because you have to rip the whole machine apart on my UV printer just to get to that ink head. The Xtool is a lot easier to replace the ink head if you ever have to do that. But anyway, so like I said, I just wanted to make this video to maybe chronicleize some of the downfalls of DTF printing, and this will start one of many videos introducing you to whether or not you want to actually take on DTF printing with Xtool or any other DTF printer for that matter. So if you're liking my videos, please hit the like and possibly subscribe button if you want to see more videos. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.